on the power of God's Word. It's available at streaming.afa.net. Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Today's Wednesday, February the 21st, 2024. Thanks for listening to AFR. All right, so I may be the host, but we have a plethora of panelists here. Yes, a veritable plethora. Wesley Wildman. Good morning, Wesley.
Glad to be on, and if you're watching, it is me. I have shaved my whole beard all the way off.
Is that a religious thing, or what is that?
No, I just got tired of dealing with it.
Okay, well, that's religious.
Yeah, religious. I just total reset. Right before New Year's, I had it all the way out, and then it bothered me, so I trimmed it back, and then yesterday just went all the way.
Now you got a 3-day I don't care beard.
That's exactly right.
Right.
That tells you my attitude when I shave.
Yes, I understand. Fred Jackson, good morning. Clean shaven, Fred Jackson over there.
I'm afraid so. Yeah, I shave when I get up around 3:30 in the morning.
Every day.
Yeah. So
every day. You're an everyday shave guy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it's the military background, you know.
There you go.
Regimented.
Yeah. You better not show up unshaven.
That's right.
Well, that was a standard back then, wasn't it?
Well, especially in boot camp.
Yeah. Yeah, you better be clean shaven.
Yes. Like
the New York Yankees used to require. I don't know if they still do or not. All right, and our good friend, colleague, the bearded one on the panel today, Ed Vitagliano joins us from Nashville.
And I've given up all kinds of things that irritated me for religious reasons. And I'll say this, I've known Fred for, I guess, 27 years. I've never seen him unshaven. I mean,
yeah,
he is clean shaven every single day.
Goes back to his military days.
That's right.
They trained him well. So you're in Nashville at the Opryland Hotel for the National Religious Broadcasters Convention, right?
That's right. This place is hopping. There are people all over the place. I almost walked accidentally to register into because there's all kinds of conferences going on. I think maybe 2 others. I almost walked into the wrong one, and I didn't recognize anyone or the logo, and I thought, well, it was some sort of, I think some kind of mining.
But did you see food anywhere?
I know. I'm with Wesley. If there's good food, I'm staying.
I thought of that.
Kind of like wedding crashing. Right, yeah. You just you meeting crash.
That's right. I prefer your food.
That's right.
So at the monstrous Opryland Hotel.
You can get lost there.
I have. I've gotten lost here.
Funny story. One time I was there for an NRB convention. I think this is 10 years ago, maybe longer, 15 years ago. Alice and I were there, or was she with me? I can't. Anyway, I was walking down the hall. And one of the many halls that it's kind of like the Hotel California. You can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave.
Yes.
Well, I was looking, so I got confused or didn't know, didn't see a sign. So I asked. There were 2 guys working there. They had their shirts on, Opryland Hotel staff, and they were working there. They were walking by, and I said, "Excuse me," or I said, I'm staying here, but I can't. Here's my card. I don't know where to go. Where's my? It says B 1947, 1919, 74, 22.
All 32.
Double B X caliber. And I said, "Can you tell me where to go?" He said, "No, I really don't know. I don't know where. I'm good. You probably need to go back to the front desk."
And where's that?
Where's the front desk?
They probably staff like 1/10 of Nashville.
Oh wow!
I mean, talking about with their.
I think I looked it up one time. I think they are like the Opryland Hotel. There, it is still called the Gaylord Opryland Hotel, right?
Yes, it is.
I think it's number 10.
Top
largest number of hotel rooms.
Oh, okay.
In the country.
If you have not been where we're talking about, you do need to look it up. It would be because
Worth
it's hard.
going by and seeing.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe that that it's a continuous hotel. We're not talking about 3 or 4 different hotels really close together where they have like a walkway that connect. This is a continuous building.
Yeah,
And they have a water park, an indoor water park
Yes.
I know.
connected to this.
They have an atrium there where there's one guy's been living there since 1982, I think. He's living in the atrium.
Let's put it this way: if they had a homeless problem here
Right.
in Nashville, this is where people would be camping out.
That's right.
Yeah,
because it's quite a nice place. I'm going to. They have. I like to come to hear some of the different workshops.
Right.
Tonight, for example, I'm going to be attending one: Israel's war with Hamas and future relations with the U.S. Yes, we will win the culture war, faith, fatherhood, and masculinity. 7 things about AI every Christian should know that impacts ministry, broadcasting, and media. And then tomorrow night from 7 to 9 p.m., former President Trump will be addressing NRB. So there's also my wife and I will go to look at the exhibition hall to see some of the new things that people are doing, and then these kind of breakout sessions and lectures are really outstanding.
See, there's one workshop here I see listed, "What to Bring to a Gay Wedding" by Alistair Begg. Are you going to that one?
Gift.
Oh man, that's
I apologize.
It was on the
No.
line. I don't think it was all the way over, but it was definitely
Yeah, it was
on the line.
close.
it's at the line, but
Yeah,
it's
I'm
not
sorry.
over.
I should.
I
Alistair
think
Begg's a
that's-
wonderful Bible teacher.
Hey,
You just got that one wrong.
hey, Ed.
Yes.
So we expect tomorrow a full report on each of those topics that you're going to go sit in.
Right. Take
Okay,
notes.
well,
Hey, he'll do it probably.
I do have a notebook. I will take some notes. I don't know that I can provide a full report.
Those are great topics.
Yeah, when you go to a convention like this, really, the workshops are good and important, but it's the fellowship with
That's right.
people who are in Christian media with you from around the world,
Connections that you make.
connections
Yes.
that you make, and so anyway, I think Jeff Shreve was there, Brother Jeff. Have you seen him? Jeff Shreve? Pastor
I
Jeff?
have not.
Okay.
After this, though, my wife and I are going to a luncheon hosted by Hamilton Strategies. They
Okay.
handle all of AFA and AFR's media.
Gotcha.
So,
Maybe you'll see
I'll
them
get
there.
to see them. They are based in Pennsylvania, and I don't get to see them very often. But
Yeah.
I will get a chance to.
All right, Fred, what's your first story?
Well, we are just 3 days away from the Republican primary in South Carolina, much talked about. Now, I just had a look at Real Clear Politics before coming into the studio, and right now there is a 28-point spread. Donald Trump ahead of former Governor Nikki Haley. Well, yesterday, in advance of the primary on Saturday, Nikki Haley had a speech where she was declaring, and it was almost, and she didn't say this, obviously, but it sounded like, I know I'm going to lose on Saturday, but I am staying in the race. Here's a little bit of what she had to say yesterday, cut number 6.
I refuse to quit. South Carolina will vote on Saturday, but on Sunday, I'll still be running for president. I'm not going anywhere. I'm campaigning every day until the last person votes because I believe in a better America and a brighter future for our kids. People have a right to have their voices heard, and they deserve a real choice, not a Soviet-style election where there's only one candidate and he gets 99% of the vote.
Well, that's a former governor of South Carolina and Trump's UN, what would you call
U.S. Ambassador to the UN.
Yes, she was ambassador to the UN. So anyway, so she's saying she's not dropping out. Of course, I've heard that before 1,000 times. Candidates say they're not dropping out, not dropping out, not dropping out. I'm dropping out. Huh? So I mean, what are they supposed to say, right? But who knows?
Especially in front and before the South Carolina primary, she can't say, "Well, if I lose, I'm dropping out." That would suppress her own vote. So
Yeah.
What's the comparison to the Soviet and the 99%? I don't get that.
I didn't get that.
I think what
implying
she's
or
talking
trying to
about
stress?
is in the former Soviet Union, which is I mean, it's Russia now, but that there's only one person on the ballot. So they have an election, quote election, but
I assume that much, but the thing is that that's not true because there were 12 on the ballot, and then we're narrowing it down.
But if you don't vote for the one, you get shot.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's Soviet style election.
Yeah, the Soviet Union had free and fair elections, but there was only one person you could vote for.
Right. Otherwise, you go to the Gulag.
Feel free.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's what she's referring to. But we'll see what happens on Saturday. But it is interesting, Fred, to hear her say that she's going to continue on. I guess the next big vote is what, Super Tuesday or what?
Yeah, it's 2 weeks from yesterday. March 5 is Super Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I think if she was to lose all of those, I don't know how could she say I'm going to continue on.
I think I mentioned this before, but did you have Trump's take on this?
Well, what happened last night is that former President Trump was on with Fox. They kind of did a town hall in South Carolina.
Fox did a town hall with Trump?
Yes.
Well, that's a novel idea.
But what he did spend time, he talked a little bit about Haley. I'll give you 10 seconds of that. Right. Cut number 2.
She's not working. She's here. She's down by 30, 35 points. And everybody knows her. You're not supposed to lose your home state. Shouldn't happen anyway. And she's losing it big.
Losing it bigly.
Yeah, that's a Trump word.
So that's all he had to say about that. But he had some actually breaking news to talk about last night.
Let's break it.
Let's
break it down, Fred.
Well, he was on with Laura Ingraham. And what he was talking about, obviously, is what he's facing in the way of the various trials. And in particular, he addressed what happened in New York. Last week, found guilty, and he has been fined over $350 million. He has to pay that even before he can appeal. So he talked about that, and he talked about and gave us an indication of what his defense is going to be. And he's referring to the 8th Amendment of the Constitution. So anyway, here's a little bit about what he had to say, but also the Attorney General of New York, Letitia James, has been out there. You remember before she was elected, she said, I'm going to go after Donald Trump. She's given interviews about what happened last week with regards to the court decision. And then constitutional expert Jonathan Turley is going to weigh in on this. So here it is, cut number 4, starting with Donald Trump.
Letitia James is horrible attorney general in New York, campaigned on I will get Trump, I will get Trump. We went through a trial. It turned out we're totally innocent on everything. And he fined me $355 million plus interest and other things. But they say it's the most egregious punishment anybody's ever seen. Tim Scott knows that. He sees it. The 8th Amendment. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. That's the 8th Amendment. Excessive fines.
If he does not have funds to pay off the judgment, then we will seek, judgment enforcement mechanisms in court, and we will ask the judge to seize his assets.
He has certainly a good case about the excessiveness of this judgment, whether it's under the 8th Amendment or due process clause, we'll have to see. What's interesting in this case is that James is going to argue this isn't like punitive damages, this is disgorgement. We were simply taking the money, the ill-gotten gains back from him.
All right, Wesley.
Well,
thoughts on this?
I have not. Let me just give you my first reaction. When you say you're going to go after excessive force based on the 8th Amendment, there's a little bit of a conceit. You're conceding a little bit there. And so I don't understand that.
You know what, Trump's comments?
Yes. So,
what's he conceding?
That there is a amount of money that he would give in order.
Oh, he's saying it's excessive when he should have said, maybe he did.
That I didn't do it.
Yeah, period.
I'm not
should be fined at all.
Right, exactly.
I got you, Fred.
Well, the thing is, with the way this is set up, is that he has got 30 days, I believe, to pay this fine in order to allow him to appeal.
Gotcha.
And what she is saying is that if he doesn't come up with the cash to pay the fine and the interest, because I think the interest added on to the $355 million is now up to about $450 million. And
that makes more sense. I'm
Yes.
tracking with you now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's and you heard her say, Letitia James, the current Attorney General of New York, saying if he doesn't come up with the cash, we're going to start seizing his property, like Trump Tower, etc.
Have you ever? I've never heard of being able to be forced to pay something in which you're going to appeal. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
it's a state law in New York. Listen, New York's whacked out liberal.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of things you could say. What? And then you
I haven't heard that anywhere else.
Yeah, then you have to fill in the blank. It's always New York or California.
Sure.
So, Ed, this is Jenna Ellis was on yesterday, and Jenna's a constitutional lawyer, and she was talking about this case in New York, the one we're talking about, where you just heard comments from the Attorney General there, and she called it a sham. What's happened there? When somebody says I'm going to go after Trump in their while they're campaigning,
That's their campaign.
and then they do.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's so many things wrong with this. I've heard Jonathan Turley, the law professor, talking about this as well. If President Trump is in fact guilty of this, that means there has to be a victim, and there is no victim. The government is suing him supposedly on behalf of the people who have been victimized by Trump's. Again, this is all so-called fraudulent practices. The banks would be the victim, but the banks, agreed to loan Trump the money based on their efforts and his collateral presented, for the loans. So, who's going to get this money? The government is out of control all across the country. I would say red states probably excluded, but certainly in blue states and the federal government, we see people complaining about government forfeiture laws all across the country. This looks like it is just pure partisan politics. Letitia James campaigned to get Trump without knowing all the facts. I mean, she was
Right.
not running any kind of investigation and said, hey, based on our investigation, Trump is guilty. I'm going to put him behind bars. No, she was running for office. She had no access to all the facts of the case. She assumed his guilt, and now the outcome has matched her assumptions. And then I think the reason why President Trump was mentioning the Eighth Amendment is to begin to build his case for appeals, probably on several different angles, one of them being the constitutional angle.
Well, if Trump had to go back, I bet to 2016, after he won the presidential election, he should have moved all his business out of New York. I mean, that's hindsight, retrospect.
Sure.
But
I think it's a terrible political calculation by the left in New York, and I'm not saying they're working together, the Democrat, and then New York.
There's 7 Republicans in New York City.
So
yeah, they're working together.
Well, I meant the presidential.
You got Rudolph
Democrat.
Giuliani.
Yep.
You got Donald Trump. You
That's
got Stefanik.
Yeah,
And you got the guy who ran for governor.
And that's it. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. But
that's four Republicans I can come up with right off the top of my head.
But his Donald Trump, we've seen this over the last 10 months, but Donald Trump's numbers go up when he's attacked by politics,
It's a gift.
by politicians.
Yeah, so really, it's a contribution in kind.
Yeah, it really is.
But these attacks. But in all seriousness, he does have to decide if he's going to appeal. He's got to put big money up to appeal, and his hopes would be this would be overturned at the New York Supreme Court. Whether that would happen or not, who knows? But in this case, the Trump said Trump or his organization said my net worth is worth such and such, my property is worth such and such, and so I want loans from banks. Banks said, okay, here are your loans, and then the banks, if they had any question about it, would have done their own due diligence and sent their appraisers out or done more research. But you know what? They didn't, because they gave it to Trump based on what he said, and then he paid all the loans back with interest.
Yes,
Nobody's complaining.
that's right.
Except for the AG of New York.
That's right.
Well, the banks testified during the trial. We're happy with Mr. Trump.
Yeah.
They apparently had a name for Trump. They called him the Whale.
Yeah.
And they said we like loaning to the Whale because we want to do more business with him.
You know what? Yes. You know what this to me, I'll just use a common person's analogy. To me, this is Trump driving 58 miles an hour in a 55 mile an hour speed zone. Okay, and then getting hit with a $10,000 ticket.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this amounts to, in my mind. And Jonathan Turley, I have a great respect for him, constitutional lawyer who's on Fox News a lot. He that's basically the analysis I think that he comes up with.
Yeah.
You are listening to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Wesley, Fred, and Ed, and we're going to be joined in a few minutes by Dick Brubaker, who is he's a congressional candidate in the 2nd District of Alabama. He wants to go to Washington, D.C. to represent the fine folks there who live there, and I want to know, are you nuts? That's my question. You want to go to D.C.?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. We need good people, and we need Christian people representing us. Send as many of them up there as we can. All right, Fred, what do you got?
Well, one more thing coming out of last night's town hall with Donald Trump, and I think you wanted to mention this. He has been asked in the past running mates, and he is kind of
potential running mates.
Yes, last night he gave us a list of potential running mates.
Who are they?
Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, Kristi Noem, and former Democrat Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard.
He named those four?
He named those four last night, yeah. Yep.
Well, that's interesting. Somebody mentioned Governor DeSantis to me as a potential candidate when DeSantis dropped out. And I said, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Tim Scott also, he mentioned.
Tim Scott, Senator Tim
Okay.
Scott. But let me finish my thought. The reason I said that's not going to happen, which, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong again, I don't know. I'm gonna have to quit predicting stuff.
Go get more popcorn.
Well, might get more popcorn. I am right a lot, but I don't like to brag on myself.
We'll ask Mom about that.
Yeah, that's not fair.
That really isn't fair.
Inside knowledge here.
Yeah, that's not fair, Wesley. So the reason I said that I don't think Governor DeSantis would accept a VP nomination, but again, stranger things have happened, is the personality differences big time. Trump is blow and go and bravado and bragging and cutting people down, and that's how he rolls.
Yeah.
Okay? DeSantis is a policy wonk. Okay, and I mean that respectfully.
Yeah.
He is a detail guy. He's very disciplined. He is going to he's focused on the mission and the technical aspects of it, of governing. That's why he's been so successful in Florida. So from a personality standpoint, of course, Pence didn't either.
That's what I was going to say.
Pence was, bless his heart, just boring as the day is long.
Yeah.
I mean, I respect the guy, but I'm just saying personality-wise compared to Trump. Of course, anybody compared to Trump's pretty boring.
Now, out of those five, though, I would say Kristi Noem would be, out of those five, Kristi Noem would be what I would think that he would go with out of those five.
But you know who I think would help him the most?
That's different. Yeah,
that's different.
Yeah.
I think what help him the most would be getting together with Governor DeSantis.
Absolutely. I agree with that. That's what would help him, but I think out of that list, it would be Kristi Noem.
But I don't know. He called DeSantis everything
in
the book and then some for a year. So I don't know if DeSantis would want to, say all's forgiven. Maybe he would. Politics, stranger things have happened. But I think if he and DeSantis could get together, that'd be quite a ticket. We'll be back momentarily. Stay with us.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
We were on our way home from Nashville. Our car had been giving us some trouble, and it was getting worse. In the middle of a small town, the motor went completely dead. Traffic began to snarl up behind us. We were pulling a trailer that was heavily loaded and going up a hill. I pondered what to do. After a few seconds, I tried the motor again. It started. We decided to hunt a garage. We asked a service station attendant, and he gave us directions to one about a mile down the road from where we were. We headed toward it. As I pulled into the garage and began to tell the foreman our problems, I noticed something which was extremely odd to me. I noticed a man in his early 20s doing manual labor. He was fixing a flat. Now, there's nothing unusual in that. But what caught my attention was this. The young man was quite obviously a victim of muscular dystrophy. It was the first time in my life that I had seen a victim of muscular dystrophy doing manual labor. I just had never thought that anyone with a disease like that would be able to do any manual labor. I was quite anxious to know the reason why the young man was hired to work in the garage. Well, it wasn't long until I got my answer. About 2 years ago, he couldn't do anything, the foreman said. His parents had so protected him that he was slim and underweight and didn't have a muscle in his body. He couldn't even pick up his own shadow. When I hired him, I put him to work. His first day here, I told him to fix a flat. He struggled with that tire for hours. I thought many times he was going to give up, but he stayed with it. I never gave him any special privileges, he continued. I didn't think he wanted any. Slowly, little by little, he got to where he could do any job asked of him. Many people cussed me because of the way I worked him. One lady came in and saw him working hard one day and cussed me for everything I was worth. She called me just about every name in the book. But look at him now. He's as strong as a mule. You know, there's a lesson of life, a very valuable one, in that incident. A young man, handicapped and overprotected, was finally allowed to prove himself. What appeared to be hardness on the part of the foreman turned out to be nothing more than a genuine expression of love. He gave the young man something no one else had given him. He gave him a chance to prove himself. Giving someone everything he wants, protecting him from the hard realities of life, is never a clear expression of love. But accepting a person with his limitations and working with him to overcome those limitations is. When difficulty comes our way, the Creator is giving us an opportunity to prove ourselves. I would rather have that than protection any day.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. Jeremiah 29, verse 13.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Today's Issues is the name of the show. Live radio. Tim, Wesley, Fred, and Ed, thank you for listening. Well, the other day I saw a story about a U.S. House of Representatives member, Republican from Tennessee, and he said, I'm going home. This place is completely dysfunctional. I've done everything I can do. And then I hear about another gentleman, Montgomery businessman in Alabama, Dick Brubaker, says, I'm running because I want to go up there to the crazy house and try to fix it, be a part of the solution. And Dick, are you with us?
I'm right here.
Hey, Tim Wildman here. Corky Hawthorne, our mutual friend, said, hey, got a gentleman running for Congress. He's a Christian conservative, and he wants to go to D.C. Now, you've been a state representative and a state senator, right, in Alabama?
Yes, I served 3 terms, 1 in the State House and 2 in the State Senate.
And so you're running for Congress, and did the seat become open?
Well, it's I tell you, I guess it's proof that Alabama was electing people that the Democrats didn't like because they drew a whole new congressional district just so they could write Barry Moore out of it. And so this is a brand new district that the federal government has drawn with the stated purpose of electing a Democrat. But District 2 is going to elect a Republican because I don't think the feds did a good enough job. There are a lot of conservatives in that district, and we're going to hold the seat. Okay.
That's Alabama's redrawn 2nd District. What you heard me talk about I forgot the gentleman's name. I should know it, but he's retiring
from Tennessee.
From Tennessee, Republican there. Why do you want to go up there?
Well, I'll be honest with you. When I ran for the state Senate in 2010, I said I'd serve 2 terms and then I'd leave. And so I served my 2 terms and then I left. I didn't defend the seat. And I never thought I'd get back into politics. I mean, I felt like I'd done my bit in public service. But, then I had a bunch of grandchildren. And that will lengthen your perspective about what your duties and responsibilities are. I mean, I agree with that gentleman from Tennessee. It is dysfunctional. But this is our country. We live here. Our kids live here. Our grandchildren will grow up here. We can't just throw up our hands and give up on it.
Right. No,
we're in trouble.
Yeah,
but,
yes.
The values that built this country, we'll save it. We've just got to return to them.
I have to remind myself often. I think we all do when you feel like you're hitting your head up against the wall. You have to remind yourself. Listen, this is America, and we have children and grandchildren. We have our posterity. We can't quit. We just can't.
We can't quit.
We can't quit.
And I remember.
Go ahead.
Listening to Don Wildman years and years ago, but it's always stuck in my head. He made the comment in one of his broadcasts that we're not called to be successful, just faithful.
Amen.
And so we've got to, and as conservatives, we've got the truth. We know what the values and the work ethic and the idea that our rights come from God and not from government that's made America what it is. And we just can't stand by and watch it be stolen.
Talking to Montgomery, Alabama businessman Dick Brubaker, who's running for Congress in the Alabama's redrawn 2nd District. And Dick says that it was redrawn to favor the Democrats, but he's going to
win it.
He's going to change that. Listen, what is your website if people want to find out more about your campaign and the ideas you believe in?
BrubakerForCongress.com.
BREWBAKER.com.
For Congress.
Now, how long you lived in Montgomery?
Oh, all my life. I was born in Texas when my dad was an Air Force officer, but I've lived in Montgomery since I was 2. And after I graduated from college, I came back to Montgomery, started teaching school, joined the National Guard, and then got in the automobile business with my dad, and did that until last year.
Well, give me 2 or 3 principles that you believe in terms of governance.
Oh, I'll give you 3 real easy. Liberty. The rights that our founding fathers put into the Constitution are under threat. And if I go to Congress, one of my main goals will be to protect the individual liberties, especially in the First and Second Amendment that we've always taken for granted, that we can't take for granted anymore. The second one is security. The Biden administration is standing by and allowing an invasion. And it's not just 400,000 people a month that's the problem. It's the human trafficking, the fentanyl. 200 Americans a day dying from fentanyl poisoning, all of it coming across the southern border. And given the Hamas terrorist threat that we face right now because of this country's support for Israel, which I'm in total support of, we have got to secure the border. And
Amen.
The last thing is limited government. We've got to get the federal government back in its lane. It has no business trying to tell people how to educate their kids and how to run their businesses and live their lives. The federal Constitution spells out very specific things that the federal government is supposed to do. We need to get the federal government out of gender politics and back into the business of securing the country.
Yeah.
So liberty, security, limited government.
All right. Well, listen, thank you, Dick. Appreciate it very much. We wish you the best, and we will follow your campaign.
Well, thanks very much for letting me be on your program.
You're welcome. Thank you.
One of the most inspiring things.
Dick Brubaker. He's running for U.S. Congress in the 2nd District of Alabama. What were you going to say, Wesley?
I was just going to conclude with what he was saying by saying that I was most inspired of the reason that he was running, and that's because he said after I had 1 grandchildren, 2 grandchildren, and after so many grandchildren, you realize, wait a minute, they're going to live in the. I mean,
I'm leaving a country for them.
Right, and you can't. That is the ultimate mic drop when it comes to. There's other reasons we do it,
right?
But if you get down to it, with all the reasons not to, if you think that they outweigh to do it, that right there is the final motivation to get involved.
Yeah, you're listening to the radio program Today's Issues on American Family Radio. Tim, Wesley, Fred, and Ed. Before we go back to Ed in Nashville, our correspondent at the hotel there. Opryland Hotel. Our correspondent.
Find out where room 8247 DB. Ed, catch that real quick while we're working.
There may be some people still wandering the halls from the last time Tim was here. I don't know.
Tell our listeners, Wesley, how they can engage us on the internet, because we're big social media people.
Well, I'll go to that there internet there since I'm in Ed's seat.
And he calls it weird. Ed calls it that there internet.
That there internet's.
You can go to AFR.net is the best place to go is AFR.net. We are streaming our audio live there in real time, and then obviously from there at AFR.net you can also find the archived radio programs that we put up day after day. When the program's over, we'll store our podcast there. Also, you can go to the YouTube channel, Today's Issues Facebook page. You can go there as well. And I believe there's
just a plethora.
Yeah, a handful of places. I'd point you to AFR.net. It's easy. It's easier. It's cleaner.
All right.
You don't have to look at Ed. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Look at Ed.
Sorry, I didn't.
Oh,
sorry.
Man.
I
meant us.
If I had thin skin, that would have hurt.
That was uncalled for, honestly.
But I don't disagree with him. I have a face made for radio.
Listen,
so
people don't come here for our looks; they come here for our brains. Am I right?
That's
Can I get an amen?
You get an amen.
You can't pick your looks, but you can pick your brains.
There's something like that.
Something like that. I don't know.
Okay, is Alex around up there?
He is sitting right across from me.
Howdy.
Alex has a face for television.
Oh, no.
We can't see Alex. We can only see you on your iPad. So, Alex, by the way, I did get the peanut butter yesterday.
Amen. Praise the Lord. Well, I'm remiss. I'm sorry it took so long.
Well, man, he was walking the halls complaining about that since Christmas. He didn't get his peanut butter.
Well, let me tell you, if you're going to ship out peanut butter, don't forget to send some to the boss. I mean, I repent.
The box came in yesterday. I opened it up, and I was very happy. The Alex McFarland homemade peanut butter from the farm there in North Carolina.
Exactly.
But you had sent it to me like for several years in a row. And when that happens, it's like peanut butter welfare.
It's entitlement.
Well, in this Biden economy, Brother Tim, I'm for you, but in this Biden economy, we just didn't have that much to send.
I know. Well,
I will say this: that in this Biden economy, a jar of free peanut butter could be the difference between life and death.
Well, I think there's several jars in there. I know. So I'm gonna put one. I'm gonna eat one today with saltine crackers.
Wow!
And then I'm gonna put one in my Armageddon closet.
There you go.
There we go.
There we go. So I'll have that peanut. How long does peanut butter keep, by the way?
Unrefrigerated, it will keep 6 months.
Okay.
Oh, I
have to
text my wife really quickly.
But listen, we've never had a jar stick around 6 months, much less about 6 days.
I know, really. But I put a jar. Listen, do we have 6 months between now and the election in November? Because we could have the end of the world before then.
Well, yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Anyway, Ed, I'm turning it over to you. for now to talk to Alex here.
Oh,
You're
okay.
sitting-
Yeah.
Since you're
okay,
sitting
so I see
across,
how it is. Y'all insult me and then
Walk away.
while you eat popcorn and
Sit back.
and fresh peanut butter. I do the heavy lifting.
trying to
That's
give you a time to shine, Ed. Alone.
It's an opportunity, Ed.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity.
All right, good. I'm going to seize this opportunity. Well, anyway, folks, you're familiar with Dr. Alex McFarland. He's co-host of Exploring the Word, heard weekdays on American Family Radio starting at 3 p.m. Central Time, usually with Brother Bert Harper. So, Alex, welcome back. And you have the ability to talk about all kinds of issues. You talk about exploring the Word. You talk about the Word of God with Brother Bert, but you are also adept at understanding trends that are going on in our culture and in politics and why Christians should be involved in the political system. So several years ago, you talked about some of the threats that face our country. And I just want to toss these out and then circle back to why Christians should be involved. You talked about the radical homosexual movement, LGBTQ, that includes transgender. You talked about militant atheism, and you also talked about militant Islam as being three huge threats facing not just the United States, but the West. So just briefly mention to our listeners why those things are existential threats, meaning they threaten the existence of our nation and of liberty around the world. And then, as I said, we'll Jen Psaki this and circle back to talk about Christians being involved as a line of defense against these huge movements.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, Ed and Tim and Wesley. I just appreciate all of you so much. But to talk about this, for one thing, let's make a delineation between morals and salvation. Because as a Christian, obviously, salvation is believing in Jesus, and we want people to know about Jesus. But very often in the culture nowadays, if you talk about morals and marriage and gender, they'll say, well, you can't impose your religion on me. Now, as a Christian, I believe in the gospel. But let's set that aside for a moment. Ed, I think to your question, what so jeopardizes our nation right now is the idea that because Congress is not to show preferential treatment to any one church or religion, that's been extrapolated to mean that you can't talk about morality. And the non-establishment clause of the First Amendment has really been taken so far to mean that we don't have any moral foundation. That's why we're in a free fall. And what I want to encourage people to do, whether or not you're a Christian, look, I'm an evangelist. If you're not a Christian, I hope you would believe in the Lord and be saved. But let's just talk about morals. If we don't have a Judeo-Christian moral foundation that for a quarter millennia, 250 years, was the X factor, the secret to America's stability and greatness and safety and prosperity, if we don't restore that moral foundation, we will become a chaotic, lawless land, easily overtaken. Look, Putin is watching. He wants it. 9 nations right now have nuclear capabilities. North Korea has nukes. China, Russia. The global Marxist, we will be overtaken by whoever is the first opportunist to attack us. Now, I want to talk about the open border in relation to how vulnerable we are. But, Ed, I would say our ignoring of and even suppression of objective morality is what has brought us to a point of our nation's greatest vulnerability.
Because if we ignore morality, or if we claim that all moralities are equal, all views of morality are equal, that seems to have so eroded the foundations of our country. There is no cohesive way of viewing the world, so you wind up with situations like in Iowa, where you had a Satanist group convincing the members of that state legislature to put up a statue to Satan. I mean, it has happened so rapidly. The wheels started to turn earlier in the last century, but the collapse seems to have happened so swiftly. It makes all the conspiracy theories seem true. All the people who warned about communism and Marxism, Marxists infiltrating our institutions to so erode our moral base that you could overthrow the Constitution, all that stuff seems to be true now.
Yeah. Well, folks, you've got to understand that the Marxists have for really just about a century been at work little by little chipping away at America. They hate the fact that we're prosperous. They hate the fact that without government intervention, people can be poor and then within a few short years be very successful, if not affluent. They hate the fact that the family is the glue that has held this country together. And so for 75 to 100 years, cultural Marxists, and some are atheists, some are sexual libertines, but they've just been trying to erode the church and erode the family. Now, thank God there is, I see hope in people's commitment to family, and that's growing. But Ed, I'm a guy, I've pastored 2 churches. I've spoken in more than 2,000. True. I love the church, the body of believers. But I got to tell you, I'm praying for the dear Lord to light a fire under a lot of American pastors.
Amen.
That I was just on an interview a few moments ago, and I was with George Barna, and I, brilliant brother in the Lord, statistician, researcher, but we were talking about the fact that there are 500,000, more like about 535,000 ordained pastors, and maybe 20% have a truly biblical worldview. Now, of youth and children's pastors, which may even be more important than the senior pastor, maybe on a good day, 12% have a biblical worldview. But of the youth pastors, children's pastors, and senior pastors, more than 95% believe, quote, you should never talk about government and politics in church. Well, yeah, the devil would want potentially some of the most potent life changers, motivators, equippers, and engagers are being silent about how our nation could be saved. And so I was a youth pastor for 11 years. I've been in so many churches. If you're a pastor, if you're a youth pastor, children's pastor, you need to speak about the things Jesus spoke about. And Jesus spoke about government. He did. He spoke about morals in the public square. And so, Ed, I'm praying for God to energize and engage the 2 entities that could be used to save our nation, the family, moms and dads, Christian homes, and the church. Now, somebody might say, oh, well, Alex, our home is in heaven. Why care about this world? Because until I get to heaven, I want to be the most fruitful participant in the Great Commission. And call me crazy, but I feel like I can do more for the gospel in a free, safe America than locked in a cell in a communist gulag.
I've always, in response to that argument that people make, I've always tried to push back just a little bit and say, oh, you think our home is in heaven, therefore we should do nothing about our political system. So if your roof leaks, do you fix that? If your car starts to make noises, do you take it to a mechanic? If you start having heart palpitations, do you go see a doctor? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, if you think our home is only in heaven and therefore we stay out of all these quote-unquote worldly things, why would you fix your roof? Why would you fix your car? Why would you try to fix your body if it's all going to burn? But the fact of the matter is the people who say that, they do fix their houses.
They do.
Because they know that if God has given them something valuable, to be a good steward means to take care of those things. Well, then why not fix our government?
Ed, you and I have been friends for a lot of years, and I want to say something, and I want to deputize you. What I'm about to say, if I'm out of order, you reprimand me. You're older than me by just a little bit, not much.
Ed is the conscience of our show.
And Tim, so what I'm about to say, I'm only speaking for Alex McFarland, and if I'm out of school, y'all reprimand me. If you're a born-again Christian and you vote Democrat, you're either in sin or being willfully ignorant. And let me explain, because look, as a born-again believer, I'm a steward, not an owner. I own nothing. I am owned. My job as a born-again Christian is to get up every morning and serve my Savior and love my spouse and family. All right? So, if I have this opportunity to make a difference by being a citizen and voting, and I have a chance to vote for things that are moral and lawful and contribute to the Great Commission, and I could vote against transgenderism, taking away parents' rights, betraying Israel, opening the border, undercutting our Constitution, squandering an America that people gave their lives to give us. If I can vote for the good, why would I vote for the bad? And so I'm going to appeal to everybody listening, if you're a born-again believer. Look, if Trump becomes the nominee, look, most people say, oh, he's mean, I don't like him. I'm not asking you to take him on vacation. I'm not asking you to call him as your next pastor. But if it's a socialist, atheistic, immoral, anti-God world, and to your point about fixing the car, see, Biden will help you. You won't have a car or a gas stove. This is the socialist world, let's make sure nobody has anything.
If you do have a car in the garage, it'll have top secret documents in it.
Yeah, and let me say, the left wants this DEI score, your social credit score. Imagine this, and believe me, China is dabbling with this even now. It's like, oh, Mr. Vitagliano, I've heard you've spoken ill of transgenderism. Your smart car that we've allowed you to have, be a shame if it wouldn't crank in the morning.
Right.
So maybe you want to retract. So, folks, our ability not only as free, safe, prosperous Americans, but to live out and to be vocal about biblical truth that would save the souls of people. Tim, I just don't know how a born-again Christian could vote Democrat.
Okay, let me just say before we
we got a minute to go.
Okay, let me just say quickly, as a nonprofit, we cannot advise people to vote for one political party or another. So let's put it, Tim, in these terms. You should not vote for evil policies.
Yes.
You should vote
Agreed.
for good policies. Right. Anyway, Tim, back to you, sir.
Yeah, you can't put that toothpaste back in, though, what Alex just said.
It's me. It's my fault. Don't blame AFA. It's my fault.
He said we could rebuke him, though, didn't he?
Send him to North Carolina. Go talk to the peanut farmer.
Hey, one pass.
What now? What are you going to say? We got a minute to go.
Oh, sorry. I was about to get serious. Is it too soon?
No, I am serious.
I think it's too late.
It's too late?
Yes. No, go ahead.
Just a passage.
You got 30 seconds. Go. Be poignant. Be poignant.
A passage of Scripture of encouragement. Galatians chapter 6 tells us not to grow weary in doing good, because in due time we'll reap if we don't give up.
Yeah. Listen, the platform of the Democrat Party today and the things that they say and represent, for the by and large, they are anti-God. And they are anti-biblical, and they're anti-freedom, and they're anti-American. And that doesn't mean all Democrats are. There are varying degrees of them, but the party platform. The party platform and their leadership, they basically kicked out pro-life Democrats. They've kicked out Democrats like Joe Manchin with traditional values. So I don't, that's facts. That's no secret. That's just fact.
All of this is against our Constitution.
Yeah, we'll be back in 5 minutes with more of today's issues.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
All God asks of you is faithfulness. Headlines in USA Today. Did you see it this morning? All the odds against us. Faithfulness is the word.
There's a place for you on the battle line. Engage in the fight for America's families. Visit AFA.net and then take your position. A message from the American Family Association.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. The State Department is issuing new visa restrictions on the owners, executives, and officials of companies helping migrants travel to the U.S. Jared Halpern has more.
A new visa restriction policy targets the owners, executives, and other officials of charter flight, ground, and maritime transportation companies, primarily used to get migrants to the United States. A State Department spokesperson says the expanded policy is aimed at operators who prey on vulnerable migrants coming to the U.S. without a legal basis and who often pay extortion-level prices. A previous visa restriction targeted individuals operating charter flights in Nicaragua for migrants then traveling onwards to the U.S.-Mexico border. In Washington, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
New York Attorney General Letitia James warns that former President Donald Trump's assets could be at risk if he ignores the fine from his civil fraud case. Constitutional law expert Jonathan Turley says Trump has a good case against the excessiveness of this judgment.
Whether it's under the Eighth Amendment or due process clause, we'll have to see. The Supreme Court rarely gets into these issues. There have been some cases. For example, there was a case involving BMW with the imposition of punitive damages. What's interesting in this case is that James is going to argue this isn't like punitive damages. This is disgorgement. We were simply taking the money, the ill-gotten gains back from him. But when you drill down on this opinion, there's nothing there. I mean, you can't really figure out how he came to this figure based on any real hard numbers.
Meanwhile, Trump is calling Joe Biden out.
Well, I'll do it right now on your show. I'll challenge him right now, and we can do you can do anybody you want. I'll take anybody from CNN, which is doing very poorly in the ratings, by the way, as you probably know. I'll take anybody, because I think you have an obligation in this case. You really have an obligation to debate. When it came to the Republicans, I was up by 40, 50, 60 points, like being up on her. I think a poll just came out. I'm at 91 and she's at 7. And would you debate? You want to be smart. You don't have to waste your time doing so.
But that would be instructive to see you versus Biden on any given topic.
Regardless of poll numbers. I'm way up on him now in the polls.
A Michigan-based conservative military watchdog says Governor Gretchen Whitmer is not a suitable candidate for the presidency or vice presidency. Chad Groening has more.
With concerns about the aging president persisting, political analysts are weighing in on who might replace Joe Biden if Democrats pull the plug on his candidacy. California Governor Gavin Newsom has topped the list, but he is a white male and doesn't fit into the left's obsession with identity politics and equity. So Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer's name keeps popping up. She was reelected in 2022 in spite of her imposition of some of the most draconian measures during COVID. Elaine Donnelly is president of the Michigan-based Center for Military Readiness. In her capacity as a private citizen, she says it's another example of illogic in our political system.
The governor of Michigan has not distinguished herself in any way. She's a very liberal politician. She is in the process of imposing some very extreme policies on the citizens of Michigan. We are losing population, unfortunately, and we're such a beautiful state. It's inexplicable, but it has to do with economics.
Donnelly says Whitmer's answer to solving the state's economic woes is to step up abortion services.
They advertise to people in other states the abortion availability in the state of Michigan, forgetting that if people come to Michigan to have abortions, how does that build population? This is the kind of illogic that we see in the governor of Michigan. Would she be a suitable candidate for the presidency or vice presidency? Of course not. But this is all the Democrats have. They have a very difficult time trying to find someone that the American people can have confidence in. She certainly is not one.
I'm Chad Groening.
Stocks are lower on Wall Street as weakness in technology companies continues to drag on the market. The S&P 500 was off 0.3%. The tech-heavy NASDAQ gave up 0.6%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average slipped 72 points. More news online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
Real-life heroes don't look like the ones in the movies. Mark Nichols doesn't wear a cape.
He's a business owner in a small Arkansas town who took a stand when his local library opened their children's section to the radical LGBTQ agenda. When you give today to AFA Action, you're helping to protect the innocence of children. We'll also give you a free copy of Mark's story. It's the latest DVD in our Impact series. Visit afaaction.net today. afaaction.net.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues. That's the name of this show on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR. We got 24 and a half more minutes to go. Tim Wildman here with Wesley Wildman and Steve Jordahl. Good morning, Steve Paisley Jordahl.
Good morning, everybody.
Got the watercolor shirt going on.
That's it.
That's it right
That's
there.
the
We
one.
couldn't
We're trying to
figure it
figure
out
what
over
to
the
call
break.
it, but that's the one. That's
we
it.
were
Yeah.
gonna go with tie-dye first, then we were going to go with the shirt of many colors, like
The
Joseph. many
Joseph
colors.
shirt?
Yeah.
Joseph shirt.
It's watercolor.
I did have a dream we're going to have 7 years of famine and 7 years of money. So
I got plenty of peanut butter, so
there you go.
I'm good to go. Ed Battagliano, we're in Tupelo, MS, and Ed's in Nashville, TN, at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention. We have a suite there that we're broadcasting from some of our shows today, and Ed's at that suite at the Opryland Hotel. Interesting.
That's a great hotel.
Yeah. Well, they don't. Interesting, though, Opryland is no longer in existence.
Oh, where they would sing.
Oh, it is.
So the theme park.
Oh,
the theme park. Okay.
There was a theme park in Nashville called Opryland that preceded the Gaylord Opryland Hotel. This would have gone back to probably at least the 80s, maybe the 70s. But they tore down that theme park and put a mall up. That mall, what is that called, though? What is that mall next door to your hotel? Ed?
it's got a kids guitar place in it.
I don't pay attention to malls.
Unless it has pizza.
I held my hand over my wife's eyes when we drove by it. Opry Mills, maybe?
Opry Mills
Mall.
Opry Mills mall there. Let's put a mall there. They kill Paradise and put up a parking lot. That's not how it goes. What is the name? How's that song go, Steve? You know that song.
That is. They
did something. It's a Joni
Mitchell.
Joni Mitchell song.
Kill Paradise, put up a party.
Was that what it was?
Ooh, la, 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 la.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah. You're more. You're not really Joni Mitchell.
No, Johnny Mitchell. I think Amy Grant did a version of it.
Anyway, that's what I was saying. They tore the theme park down there and put up a mall. You're listening to Today's Issue. So, Steve, bring forth unto us the news.
All right, let's go here. Let's start with a little bit of a laugh, if we could.
They pay Paradise and put up a parking lot.
Paradise.
Yes, they didn't kill it. They paid.
I knew there was something just a little bit off. Pay Paradise.
But you do have to kill it before you can pave it.
Right. True. That's what they say.
All right, I've got very, very good news for you all. We have finally solved the crime problem in this country. In fact, we're going to get rid of it. There's going to be no crime overnight. There's going to be no more crime, and we have civil rights attorney Ben Crump to thank for it. So I want you to listen to his plan. This is from a documentary that they're making featuring him. You'll hear a couple other voices. One of those is Al Sharpton, who's also in this, just kind of commenting a little bit.
That's a dynamic duo right there. Ben Crump and Al Sharpton.
Well, I was going to say that I agree with let's try to get rid of crime overnight until...
Well, let's listen to how he's going to do it.
Okay, I'll be fair.
We can get rid of all the crime in America overnight, just like that. And people ask how, Attorney Crump? Change the definition of crime. Of course. If you get to define what conduct is going to be made criminal, you can predict who the criminal is going to be.
It sounds like we're criminal, though.
Yeah.
Our existence is criminal.
But they made the laws. They make the law to criminalize our culture.
To fit us.
Black culture.
That's right.
It's a bunch of garbage.
That's a lie. The laws were not made to criminalize black culture. You know,
But he
it's
is
not
right.
against the law to rap.
You'll have a whole lot fewer criminals if you change the definition of what crime is.
Yes, listen, the laws are defined. What is illegal is defined to fit everybody.
Right.
You take a gun and go into a bank and say, "Give me everybody else's money," put it in a bag. That's a crime, no matter what color the skin of the person holding the gun. Now that's just idiotic.
I just don't think Ed's seeing it right.
Probably, huh?
Oh, give us a different perspective, Wesley.
Yeah.
You know, Ed, I just feel like if you would have just taken a step back and realized that you had an Italian descent, I don't.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I mean, white descent. That's what.
Yeah.
I don't think that you would have said that so quickly without even looking through the facts.
I mean, he's got Italian privilege.
Yeah. So you brought the Italian.
You mean tell you how
thing in
Italians
because
take privilege? I'll tell you how Italians take privilege.
We're getting off the point.
Well,
No,
yeah,
y'all
that's
about
my
to
fault.
embark on some ethnic
we are.
stereotypes.
They're
Go
gonna
right
get-
ahead.
They're going to be Italian protesters out in front of our building if we don't watch out here.
They're going to make us
The
a
five
protest
of us
we
in
can't
Mississippi.
refuse.
The five of us in this.
And what was the guy's name? Attorney Crump. Ben Crump. Attorney Ben Crump said that, as y'all heard, that the best way we can do away with crime is to change the definition of crime to not be a crime.
Yep.
And that's
what
a
he
lie.
said.
And that kind of thinking is why his wife Helen Crump left him.
Yes.
And then
we're getting
went to yeah.
I think we're getting into we're getting our watercolors
Hey,
confused.
That's way weird.
I think we are.
That's an Andy Griffith show reference for those of you who pay attention.
Thank you, because we probably should say that Ben Crump does not have a wife that's named whatever you said. Her name is Ellen.
Now in weather, over to Steve.
Well, there's
We're at
actually
the weather desk. Steve, go.
there's a second clip I want to play. This Wesley brought this one in. It's a little bit related in that this is about the way that the left, they don't like the way you define laws. They also tend not to like some facts, right, Wesley?
That's right. They don't like facts. So we were about to play a clip from Roland Fryer. Roland Fryer is an economist, and he's a professor at Harvard, and he wrote a paper back in 2016. Well, he didn't write the paper. He actually had 8 grad assistants, full-time paid, help him conduct a study on is there racial differences in police use of force? Is there differences and racial differences in the police use of force? And he did it. He didn't like, and then he came out with the conclusion, which we're about to listen to, and then it didn't fit quite the narrative, so he went back and got 8 more grad assistants and redid the study, and it was the same conclusion, and then he got in all kind of trouble for it, and here's the clip.
We collected millions of observations on everyday use of force that wasn't lethal. We collected thousands of observations on lethal force. People lose their minds when they don't like the result. Yes, we saw some bias in the low-level uses of force, every day pushing up against cars and things like that. But we didn't find any racial bias in police shootings. It was a 104-page, dense academic economics paper with a 150-page appendix, okay? It was posted for 4 minutes when I got my first email. Doesn't make any sense. And I wrote back, how'd you read it that fast? I had colleagues take me to the side and say, don't publish this. You'll ruin your career. I said, what's wrong with it? Do you believe the first part? Yes. Do you believe the second part? Well, the issue is they just don't fit together. We like the first one, but you should publish the second one another time. I said, let me ask this. If the second part showed bias, do you think I should publish it then? And they said, yeah, then it would make sense. And I said, I guarantee you I'll publish it. We'll see what happens. You know, I lived under police protection for about 30 or 40 days.
Who was that again?
His name is Roland Fryer. Fryer. He's an economist and he's a professor, and he was the first African American at Harvard to reach tenured at 30 years old. He is well known, and he advanced in his career exceptionally well.
So this is very interesting. So he
was a shining star at Harvard.
Right.
For an African American,
he's
brilliant.
Right.
But until this study came out is when.
And then he was ostracized by his colleagues because
and threatened.
Threatened, he said. But what he's talking about here is he conducted research on whether or not the police
target black people
inordinately in terms of shootings.
That's right.
Or violence towards them, and he said no.
He said no. He took 1 year. He said it took 12 months with 8 full-time paid grad students to conduct this, and then he said you didn't hear in the clip, but I've read this. I read the story. That he said. Then he said based on the conclusion. He's like, something's not right here, so we got to do this again. So he did it again.
Gotcha.
And then still came out with the same answer.
Yeah. Well, but if you listen to Al Sharpton and Ben Crump, you would think that cops are hunting down.
But the main,
hunting down minorities.
100%. The main point I wanted to bring up from that, because he had just been re-interviewed, or not re-interviewed. He was just interviewed on February 21st. On the paper that he did. He's going around doing some speaking. He was interviewed at Austin University, and that's where that clip came from. And his story and how the far left handled those facts was what I just wanted to reemphasize, how they said, nope, you can't publish.
When this whole, after the George Floyd incident, where, he died in custody there with the police in Minneapolis. After that, the whole narrative was the cops across America are out to harm particularly black males. Sure. And so the whole country rose up against this narrative, right? And
embraced the narrative.
And embraced the narrative and rose up against the narrative. And then the defund the police movement,
that's right,
as it were, sprung up too. But then I began to see people on the street being interviewed over and over and over again, and a lot of leaders, African Americans, saying, "Defund the police. That's nuts. Our communities need police like every other community. We don't need less. We need more. We need good cops.
That's right.
We don't need rogue cops, but we certainly don't need a place where there are no cops." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You look at what's happening in these big cities, in the inner cities. They had I was reading a story about Oakland, California yesterday. That's just a third world country. It's a fourth world country. It's just complete and utter lawlessness in Oakland, California. Almost as bad across the bay in San Francisco. Well, these are progressive utopias, but predominantly the inner city obviously would be black folks, and the black folks there, the NAACP in Oakland is saying we need more police officers in our community because it's getting too dangerous for people who live here. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's why part of the problem we're facing in this country, because we're so polarized, is especially on the radical left. This isn't about facts, and this is why this Harvard professor is getting so much blowback, is because his facts are getting in the way of the narrative on the left.
Yep.
And when you don't care about facts, you don't care about what the reality is on the ground, you simply embrace whatever fits your narrative so you can get to your goal. And the goal of so many on the radical left is to overthrow the Constitution because we are a systemically racist nation and institute a Marxist utopia. So you even have black people in the inner cities who are saying, listen, we don't believe the narrative either, or if there is some bias, we can fix that by getting the community together with the police and working that out. But we need more cops, not less. And so the people who are suffering in these inner cities are the minorities that are being terrorized by criminals. And if we don't get back to a country where we can all agree on certain things, which is in essence a worldview, none of these problems are going to get solved. They're only going to get worse.
And you know the biggest cheerleaders for defund the police, you know what they got? They got private security guards.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Like Cori Bush in St. Louis, the U.S. representative there. Yeah. And I could cite you others who push.
And when these leftists do get carjacked, they start screaming for more police, too.
Yeah.
Where's the police? Yeah.
Exactly. You're listening to Today's Issues. Next story, Steve.
All right. Let's go to California and see how.
Do we really have to? Do we have to?
I'm gonna
you brought up Oakland.
I did.
He brought up.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Transition.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm going to take you to my home state. They tried to pass a ban on lawn equipment there. They couldn't quite get it through the. This is gas-powered lawn equipment. Of course, it ruins our
Talking
climate.
about gasoline. Take it out. Put gasaline in your
weed
in your
eater,
lawnmower,
your
weed eater,
lawnmower.
whatever. They wanted to ban that.
They wanted to, and I'm sorry.
Thought they did.
They did. No. This is not California. This is Colorado. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Wrong home state. I actually was in Colorado for 15 years.
Wrong home state.
They tried to do it in Colorado, and they couldn't get it passed. So they gave it to the regulatory agency. The Colorado Air Quality Control Commission voted 8-0 to prohibit gas-powered lawn equipment from being used on public property statewide. This is how...
Why?
That's public property or private as well?
Public.
Oh, public property. That's not private property.
Well, they at this point.
Next step.
Yeah, that's the next step. So the reason they did it, they say that contributes so much to global warming. We're going to say we got to save the planet, so we can't cut our lawn with gas-powered equipment. It's kind of wacky, but that's what they say. But the point here is this is how your life is impacted by government. It's not always, in fact, it's rarely the laws they pass. Sometimes it is, and they're bad, laws that are passed or amendments or whatever. But they're doing most of their damage by going to the regulatory commission and just making a rule.
Oh, that's right. That's a good point. Yep.
Mowing your grass in Colorado with a lawnmower that you fill with gasoline is not harming the environment.
Nope. Nope.
Huh? That's stupid.
Yes. It's a waste of time, too, out of all the things that we can be.
Well, you hate our planet, Tim. You're trying to destroy our planet. How dare you, sir?
Out of all the issues we've got in this country, putting gasoline in a mower is not one of them.
I just go for it, Colorado.
Yeah.
Beat California.
Yeah.
Then the people who left California moved to Colorado will be moving to Colorado looking to Kansas.
They have green hats that say "Make Colorado California Again."
We're going to meet a red wall before long.
That's right.
Gasoline.
Banning it. But hey, that's a good point Steve brought up. There's a significant difference between a rule and a law that's been passed.
Yeah, they're using a government agency to now. They're not able to do if this would really be bad if the state legislature in Colorado banned private citizens.
Right.
This is only talking about public lands.
That's right.
But that's bad enough because they're buying into that whole gasoline causes global warming. Fossil fuels is the.
And in California, that was their first step too.
Yeah, and as I've said before here too, the global warming, the carbon emissions, fossil fuels causes global warming / climate change, which leads to our demise, humans here on planet. That's the way it tracks, right? That's the way.
That's what they say.
Okay, so it's time for those folks to give it
careful.
up. No, they need to say we're doomed. And okay, we're doomed, and there's nothing we can do about it.
We're going to use up all the gas we want.
So eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we will all burn up.
Yeah, there you go.
Because what they keep doing is they keep saying, they'll say, oh, we're at a crisis moment. We've got 10 years to reverse things or we're going to die. Okay, you know what? In 2034, you know what they're going to be saying? We got 10 years left, or we're going to reverse things, and then in 2044 they're going to be saying we got 10 years left, people, or we're all going to burn up. What I'm saying is they never get to the end of their road because what happens is they're only using this to try to control the American economy.
Yeah.
Now, also the Western economy and economies, but they're using it to try to scare people to death so that they will submit to stupid regulations like can't use gasoline for your lawnmower. And why is that? Because we want to control more of your life.
Mm-hmm.
This is how these socialists, these Marxists work. They use fear to try to control people. And for you, why do people give up freedoms? People get up. People, Americans especially, are not easily to give up freedoms. But if you scare the heck out of people, they'll put a mask on. They'll throw experimental
and they won't
shot in their body.
Shot in their body, all in the name of.
And they won't go to
fear.
Church because that was one of the biggest things that the church was exposed.
Talking about the COVID
lockdowns was the biggest experiment that we saw where the church really needed to strengthen, and that's the First Amendment, because there was a lot of churches that didn't meet in fear of getting in trouble by the government.
Yeah.
Because they said you can't meet because of COVID.
Well, we don't have the time to list them all, but thank God for the red state governors.
Yeah.
During that, after they figured out what was going on.
That's right.
They didn't just, they used common sense. They did seek the advice of medical experts, but they didn't give in to the shut everything down, close everything off, everybody get an experimental shot, or we're all going to die. Doomsday scenario that was put forth there. All right, Steve, we got about 2 minutes left. What else you got over there?
The NCAA has given unanimous consent to a new playoff scheme.
I like giving unanimous consent.
Yeah, so they're gonna have a bunch of different. They're gonna have like.
You talking about football?
Football.
College football. What are we gonna do here?
We're instead of having now they've been doing 4 teams for the playoffs, but now they're gonna take the top 5 conferences, the top ranked conference winners.
Okay.
And the next, I think, 7 highest rated teams. Now, the reason this is kind of interesting to me is because the conferences are realigning. There's a huge, the SEC is growing. The Big Ten is now the Big 150 or something like that.
Yeah.
And the Pac-12 is left with 2 teams.
Yeah.
So
Washington State and Oregon State, right?
Pac-12 then?
Washington State and Oregon State. So if they're taking
Pac-2.
If they're taking the top finishers from the conferences and putting them in the playoffs, it looks like Washington State and Oregon State have a lot better chance of playing every year for the national championship.
Yeah, all comes down to this one game. A 2-team conference.
I'm glad the NCAA is removing all the controversy from the playoffs.
Right, exactly.
Man, college football with the NIL and the transfer portals, it's just not the same
I know.
sport anymore.
Don't get me started.
We don't have time for that one either, do we?
Yeah, it's not going to help my school go to any playoff in my lifetime, so I don't really care. But it can all burn. As far as I care.
College football contributes to global warming.
Yeah. Well, all right, there we go. Probably better for me to stop right there.
Yeah.
Listen, we love Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Michigan, but we just, the rest of us just don't want to see that every single year. Huh? Do I speak for America or what?
Roll Tide. I have to say that.
Go Notre Dame.
Notre Dame gets in there every once in a while.
Every once in a while. We don't go anywhere.
Steve keeps just.
I read a story yesterday that said University of Texas is getting ready to take over every sport. And I was going, oh, that's encouraging for everybody else.
That's
here.
right, yeah.
Well, they're joining the SEC next year.
Yep.
So, all right. We hope you have a wonderful Wednesday rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Well, there's a part of our nation's capital that's known as the Mall, the Washington Mall. It's not a shopping mall, but it's a beautiful site to go to the U.S. Capitol.